They think this is real. This is a chance to, so many commentators out there or commentators, they keep repost or blast it out. So they go really viral this time. But my family, when they saw it, they say, oh, that's another fake one, another one.
There you go. Unlike the recent one that's out there, you're not sentenced to 10 years anywhere. You're sitting right here on the fact. We want to thank you for joining us. Colby, thank you for joining as well.
He went on live TV, sat down with his lawyer, looked dead into the camera and said the whole thing was fake. But here's the problem. Nobody asked about the employee. We're talking about a man who built a $20 million empire selling diamonds to the biggest rappers on the planet. Travis Scott, Gucci Mane, 21 Savage, Beyonce. This man's grills have been in more music videos than most artists have albums. And right now, the internet is on fire. His lawyer is throwing around defamation lawsuits. And a former employee named Plug Geo already told us everything we needed to know, years before any of this went viral. Y'all need to hear this, because what's happening right now with Johnny Dang is not just about AI deepfakes and fake news. There's a whole other layer to this story that nobody is connecting. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why Johnny Dang was very careful about what he addressed on that TV interview, and even more careful about what he didn't. Let's get into it. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to the beginning, because you can't understand the controversy without understanding the empire first. Johnny Dang, born Giang Antoine in Vietnam in 1973, arrived in Houston in 1996 with nothing. No money, no English, no connections, no map. Just his father, who had immigrated 9 years earlier, and a work ethic that most people will never understand in their life. He started at the absolute bottom, literally repairing jewelry with his brother at a flea market in Houston. A flea market gang, not a boutique, not a storefront on Rodeo Drive, a flea market table in Sharpstown. But the man had skill, and more importantly, he had vision. By 1998, he had opened his first actual store, TV Jewelry, inside Sharpstown Mall. And that's when everything changed. He found his lane making custom jeweled grills. And the timing was perfect because hip-hop at that moment was at a point where bling wasn't just fashion, it was identity. It was power. It was how you told the world you made it out. And nobody understood that assignment better than Johnny Dang. And then came the moment that changed his life forever. He made a grill for rapper Paul Wall. Paul Wall rocked it. The streets noticed, the culture noticed. And by 2002, the two of them went into business together. From that point on, Johnny Dang wasn't just a jeweler anymore. He was the jeweler, the one every rapper with real money called first. The one celebrities flew to Houston specifically to see. The man who turned a flea market hustle into a diamond dynasty. Fast forward to today, we're talking about a man who has been referenced in songs by Migos, Travis Scott, Gucci Mane, Lil Pump, 21 Savage, Chief Keef. He appeared in Beyonce's No Angel video. He's got a song literally named after him by that Mexican OT, Paul Wall and Drody in 2023. He moved his operation from Sharpstown Mall to a full standalone location in 2016. The man said it himself on live television. He does millions of dollars every single month. This is not a small-time operation. This is a dynasty, a legacy, a cultural institution, and that's exactly why when the internet started coming for him, it spread like gasoline on fire. Now here's where things started getting real. Over the past few weeks, social media got flooded, and we're not talking about 1 or 2 posts from some random account. We're talking about a coordinated feeling wave. Videos, clips, dramatic captions, all pushing the same story. Johnny Dang arrested. Johnny Dang raided by police. Johnny Dang selling fake jewelry to the biggest names in hip-hop. Post after post, repost after repost, the algorithm doing what the algorithm does and pushing the most dramatic, most emotional content to the most people as fast as possible. And here's the thing about the way this content was packaged. It wasn't sloppy. These weren't grainy screenshots with obvious fake headlines and bad grammar. Some of these videos were using AI-generated audio and visuals that looked and sounded like the real man. His face, his voice, his mannerisms, his accent, all fabricated, all synthesized, all designed to look credible enough that when somebody's auntie sees it scrolling through her timeline at 11 p.m., she believes it without even blinking. That's the new era of misinformation, fam. It's not just rumors whispered on the block anymore. It's synthetic, it's engineered, it's produced, and it's targeted at people who trust what they see with their own eyes. Now think about what that does to a business that runs entirely on trust and reputation. Rappers and athletes don't just pick any jeweler, they pick the jeweler. the one their people vouch for, the one with the track record, the one they've seen on Travis Scott's wrist or in Gucci Mane's video. The moment you plant doubt in that ecosystem, you're not just messing with someone's feelings, you're attacking their livelihood, their brand, the relationships it took decades to build, and the videos kept coming. Different accounts, different platforms, same message. Johnny Dang is a fraud. Johnny Dang got caught. Johnny Dang is done. It was relentless, and our video hit right in the middle of all of it, and it went viral. That's when Johnny Dang decided he had to move fast. He didn't post a statement on Instagram, he didn't drop a caption on TikTok, he didn't go live from the shop, he went on television, specifically the Isaiah Factor Uncensored, a real Houston TV platform with a real audience. And he didn't go alone. He brought his attorney, Colby Holler, sitting right next to him on camera. Let that sink in. When a businessman shows up to address public controversy with his lawyer physically present on television, that is not a casual conversation. That is a prepared, strategic, legally guided response. This was not off the cuff. This was calculated. The host set the stage perfectly for Johnny's narrative, introducing him as the man who built a diamond-studded empire and framing the entire situation as AI-powered attacks from haters trying to take down a self-made success story. And from jump, Johnny came out with a specific approach. When asked what his first reaction was to seeing the viral content, he said, and I'm pulling this directly from the interview, "My first thought is, man, that's so fake, and it's not really affect my business because I see a couple of things like this been happening in the past."
Yes,
So when
how
you
doing?
realize what people have been putting out on social media about you using AI, fake technology, to,
Right.
what were your thoughts about that?
My first thought is, like, man, that's so fake, and it not really affect my business because I see a couple of things like this been happening in the past.
Read that again slowly. His first move was to minimize. It's not really affecting my business. But then, almost immediately in the same interview, he contradicts himself. He says, "I believe a lot of people believe on the story and stay away from my business or plan to do something with me might stop doing it."
But I believe a lot of people believe on the story and stay away from my business or plan to do shopping with me might stop doing it. It's because we do millions of dollars every month, and it's very hard to predict and how it can be damaged my business, you know.
So which is it? It's not affecting the business, or people are actively staying away because of what they saw? No cap, that's a man trying to hold it together on camera while something is genuinely rattling him underneath. And it makes sense, because when you're doing millions of dollars a month, every single week that doubt is planted in the market costs real money, real relationships, real opportunities that quietly disappear without a word. But here's where it gets crazy. When the host asked whether he thought this was competition or just random haters, Johnny Dang didn't hesitate. He said, "I think it's part of competition. I believe it's competition."
Now, do you think this is possibly competition out there, or do you think this is just your average run-of-the-mill hater?
I think it's a part of competition. I believe it's competition. But it doesn't, be honest, it doesn't hurt my business.
He said it twice. He wasn't guessing. He was pointing. He believes someone in his industry is behind this, a coordinated attack designed to look like organic viral content. And then his attorney, Colby Holler, stepped in to explain the legal options, starting with demanding retractions and escalating to defamation action if the content creators can be identified. The attorney was clear. This is a defamation case. They're publishing things that aren't true, clearly lies, malicious intent to harm his business.
So people can realize that this could be damaging to a businessman, so you have to go after them for their actions.
Yeah, there's causes of action available for things just like this. I mean, this is a defamation case. They're publishing things that aren't true, clearly lies, malicious intent to harm his business, and you can file a defamation action for something just like this.
And look, on the surface, if we're only talking about the AI deepfake content, that legal argument makes sense. That's a real issue. That's legitimate. But here's the thing that nobody in that TV studio brought up. Here's the part that conveniently never came up in the whole conversation. What about Plug Geo? Let me break it all the way down for y'all, because this is where the real story lives. And I need you to understand the full scope of what was said before any of this AI stuff existed. Back in 2021, Years before this deepfake wave, years before our video, years before any of this went viral, a man named Plug Geo went on camera, not with a mask, not behind a burner account, not anonymously. He put his full face and his government on it, and what he said shook the jewelry world to its foundation. Plug Geo was a former employee of Johnny Dang and Company, not a customer with a bad review, not a competitor throwing shade, an actual inside man, someone who worked inside that operation, handled the product, understood the process, and saw what was being sold and what it was being sold as. And what he alleged was specific, technical, the kind of detail that doesn't come from someone who's just hating, it comes from someone who knows. He said Johnny Dang was using CVD diamonds instead of natural diamonds, and charging customers natural diamond prices. Now I need to pause here and make sure everyone watching fully understands what that means, because this is the most important part of the whole video. CVD stands for chemical vapor deposition. It is the most widely used method for creating lab-grown diamonds today. Here's how it works. A tiny diamond seed crystal is placed inside a vacuum chamber. A hydrocarbon gas, usually methane, is pumped in. Then heat, around 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, breaks down that gas into carbon atoms, and those atoms bond to the seed layer by layer over weeks until a full diamond forms. The result? A stone that is chemically, physically, and optically identical to a natural diamond. Same hardness, a perfect 10 on the Mohs scale. Same crystal structure, same brilliance, same sparkle. The naked eye cannot tell the difference. A standard diamond tester that most jewelers use cannot tell the difference. It takes specialized equipment, a specific type of spectrometer or UV fluorescence analysis, to definitively identify a CVD stone versus a natural one. And here is the financial reality that makes this allegation so serious. By the beginning of 2025, lab-grown diamonds had dropped in price by 74% compared to 2020. 74%. The technology to grow them has become so efficient that what once took weeks now takes hours. The machines themselves cost under $10,000. CVD diamonds are, by market value, a fraction of what a natural earth-mined diamond is worth. So think about what that means in the context of hip-hop jewelry. If a rapper is spending $300,000 on a diamond chain, money they worked for, tours they grinded through, deals they negotiated, and the stones in that chain are CVDs sold as naturals, that artist just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in a handshake. The piece might still look incredible. It might still photograph amazingly. The blogs might still go crazy over it. But the moment they try to resell it, insure it for its stated value, or pass it down, the real number shows up, and it is nowhere near what they paid. The FTC itself recognized this problem. Back in 2018, they started cracking down specifically on jewelers who were selling lab-grown diamonds without clearly disclosing them as lab-grown to customers. Because the potential for consumer fraud is not hypothetical. It is real, it is documented, and it has been happening across the industry. That's the allegation Plug Geo put his name on in 2021. And he didn't stop there. He also claimed that he personally helped generate over $9 million in revenue for Johnny Dang and Company. $9 million. And that despite driving that kind of production, he was denied a meaningful raise. He said the workplace didn't provide adequate security. He said when he tried to raise these concerns internally, nothing changed. So he walked. And when he walked, he talked. Now here's what I need y'all to sit with for a second. There is a fundamental difference between an anonymous social media post pushing a viral narrative and a named former employee making specific technical allegations on camera about the exact product being sold. One is content, the other is testimony. One is designed to go viral, the other is someone burning a bridge publicly because they feel the truth needs to come out, and the timing alone tells you something critical. Plug Geo came out in April 2021. That is years before this AI deepfake era, years before Johnny Dang became a trending topic for these kinds of allegations. There was no wave to ride in 2021. There was no viral moment to capitalize on. Plug Geo stepped forward in a completely different media environment, which means you cannot fold his allegations into the same coordinated AI smear campaign narrative Johnny Dang laid out on TV. These are two separate things. And Johnny Dang's team has never publicly addressed the CVD allegations specifically, directly, and on record. He has talked about street jewelers. He has pointed fingers at internet scammers who take customer money and never deliver product. He has spoken generally about protecting his reputation. But the specific claim that his operation substituted lab-grown diamonds for natural ones has never been met with a direct, documented, transparent rebuttal. and the streets noticed. Real ones always do. Now, I'm going to keep it a buck with y'all because this channel does not do one-sided storytelling, and we are not here to just destroy somebody for clicks. The AI deepfake situation targeting Johnny Dang is real. Full stop. That technology exists. It's being weaponized against public figures right now at a scale that is genuinely alarming. The number of AI-generated videos online grew from around 500,000 in 2023 to approximately 8 million by 2025. Nearly 900% growth in synthetic media in 2 years. Fox 26. Houston confirmed they ran a specific segment covering the fake videos targeting Johnny Dang, showing clips with fabricated audio and manipulated visuals built to look authentic. That is documented. That is real. That is a legitimate crisis. And when his attorney talks about defamation, that framework applies to the fake AI content. If someone is manufacturing videos of Johnny Dang saying things he never said, doing things he never did, to deliberately damage his business with false information, that is textbook defamation with malicious intent. The legal path forward on that specific issue is clear. But, and this is the part that cannot get buried, acknowledging the deepfake problem does not erase the employee problem. These are two completely separate issues running on parallel tracks, and the way the TV interview was structured had the effect, and whether by design or by accident, of collapsing both tracks into one. Everything becomes fake news. Everything becomes jealous competition. Everything becomes AI. And that framing is dangerous because when everything looks like misinformation, real information gets discredited by association. That's actually a documented phenomenon. Experts call it the liar's dividend. The more deepfakes exist, the easier it becomes for real things to be dismissed as fake. Johnny Dang sitting on TV in that exact environment with that exact narrative benefits directly from that confusion. Think about the optics. If the only story the public processes is successful immigrant-built business being attacked by AI and jealous competitors, then anyone who raises the CVD question gets automatically filed under hater, under competition, under part of the coordinated attack. The Plug Geo moment gets buried under a sympathetic narrative that is, in many ways, genuinely true, but selectively applied. And let's talk about what Johnny Dang actually said about the people hurting his business, because this part is important. On that TV interview, he specifically pointed fingers at what he called street jewelers. People who open Instagram and TikTok accounts, pretend to be jewelers, take customer money, and never deliver product. He said, they take advantage of internet, take money from the customer and never deliver product. And when customer go back to me, it's too late. That is a real problem in the jewelry industry, no argument there. Scam accounts are everywhere. But notice what that framing does. It positions Johnny Dang as the legitimate one being confused with the scammers. It makes him the standard of authenticity that the fraudsters are trying to steal from, which is a very convenient frame if you're also trying to avoid a conversation about what's actually inside your own pieces. His family's reaction during the interview is also worth noting. When asked how his wife and kids were handling the viral content, Johnny said they saw it and immediately said, "Oh, that's another fake news about you." His words were, "This is not the first time. It's not the first time they do the fake news about me." And look, if fake content about you has happened enough times that your family has a routine response to it, that tells you something about the environment this man operates in. Fame at that level comes with a target on your back. That part is real. Here's what this whole situation really tells us, and I need y'all to sit with this for a real second. Johnny Dang's origin story is real, and it is genuinely powerful. Arriving in America with nothing, working a flea market, building a $20 million empire through skill and connections and relentless hustle. Becoming the most recognizable jeweler in hip-hop history. That story is not fabricated. That story deserves respect. But here's the real tea. The culture has been sitting on a transparency problem with jewelers for years and nobody wants to say it directly. Lil Durk has spoken on record about rappers getting sold fake jewelry. Multiple artists have publicly posted about getting pieces independently tested and being surprised by the results. The CVD versus natural diamond conversation isn't a fringe conspiracy. It is an active, ongoing discussion inside the jewelry industry that the hip-hop world has been dancing around carefully because the names involved are too big and the relationships are too deep. What Plug Geo did in 2021 was put a specific name on a specific practice. He didn't talk in generalities. He didn't say jewelers out here scamming. He said this specific operation was doing this specific thing, and instead of that moment triggering a real conversation about transparency and accountability in the industry, it got absorbed and buried by the weight of the man's reputation and his celebrity relationships and his compelling immigrant success story. Now in 2026, with AI deepfakes muddying the waters even further, and a strategically produced TV appearance reinforcing the victimhood frame, that Plug Geo moment is getting buried again. Deeper this time, under better production value. And that's exactly why this video exists, not to destroy Johnny Dang, not to co-sign every viral post floating around social media about him, but to make sure that in the middle of all this manufactured chaos, the one person who put his actual name on specific allegations, who had inside access, who had nothing obvious to gain, doesn't get erased from the conversation by a more emotionally convenient narrative. Because if the CVD allegations are false, prove it. Not with a TV interview, not with a defamation threat, with transparency, with certification documentation, with independent testing, with a direct, on-record response to Plug Geo's specific claims. Real empires don't fall from questions. They fall from unanswered questions that fester. And if those allegations carry any truth at all, then every rapper who spent their hard-earned money at that store deserves to know. Every athlete, every regular person who saved up for months to get something custom from the King of Bling, they deserve the truth about what they're wearing around their neck. That's not hate, that's accountability. And accountability doesn't negotiate around your origin story, your celebrity clientele, or how many music videos you've appeared in. The biggest question right now isn't whether some AI account created fake content about Johnny Dang. That question has been answered. The biggest question, the one that has been sitting unanswered since 2021, is what exactly are people buying when they spend their money at Johnny Dang and Company? Until that gets a real answer, this story isn't closed. Drop in the comments what you think. Do you believe Johnny Dang is purely a victim here? The AI, the competition, all of it? Or do you think what Plug Geo said in 2021 deserves a direct response that we still haven't gotten? Because the internet doesn't forget, and neither do we.